most of these punches and these things do take place in an area where you're having confrontation. Most of them we get through A&E is through pubs and bars, outside the pubs when the drinking hours are over. So in a way, you're not in your senses, your balance is not right. So even a small punch, if you lose your balance and land on your concrete floor, you can have an injury, which even it doesn't look serious and doesn't need an operation, it can really affect your brain in the sense that the wiring gets disrupted, and then that can lead to a long-term problem. Long-term injury, even if you have got a minor injury, if you affect the part of the brain which is part of your thinking, such as frontal lobes, you can take sometimes, even a trivial injury can take sometimes up to 6 months to get back to functioning level. So a small amount of injury, what it does with the connections of the brain is the connections of brain get disrupted. So to wire them back, as we say, so if you take an example of your brain, like your wiring in your house, if there's a disruption in the wiring, then you have to put them back to where they start and end. So it's like a mismatch of the wires and the fuse. So that happens in the brain. So to rematch them where they are, it occasionally takes up to, in the minor injuries, can take 8 to 6 weeks to a few months. For major injuries, can take a lifelong. And that's why the brain rehabilitation, which is most important for these people to integrate back into the society, can take a long time. And we need the help of a psychologist, we need the help of brain surgeons if we need to do an operation and things like that on the brain. In the short term, they have got significant problems with the short-term memory. They tend to forget what they did. It's almost like dementia. So basically, you tend to forget what you're doing. You tend to forget, did you have your breakfast? You tend to forget what you ate. Then there is memory retention problems. So think about someone doing some mental work or even a physical work, that if they forget what they were doing, then they will end up in having more mistakes in their work. There will be lots of mood swings, they will be aggressive, they can be very tired halfway through, they can fall asleep very easily during the daytime. Their normal day-to-day life is very much affected, and that can, if someone who has got significant injury, that can continue for months to years and sometimes lifelong. And one more thing is, if you get an injury to the head, you can have obviously injury to the parts of the brain which control things such as your hand movement, your leg movement, your face movement. Initially I was talking about memory, but you can have a stroke related to head injuries where you've got weakness down one side, or you can have weakness of both legs or both hands, depending on where the injury is. And rarely you can have seizures, which can continue to form an epilepsy. So you think about that. Someone who has got even a minor injury who develops to have seizures and then goes and has epilepsy. That means lifelong care for the patient.